Want to make sure I'm.
Hi everyone, welcome, good afternoon. Welcome to another lunch hour session in the JCS Preferred Partner webinar series, and really the final one before the BizTech Virtual Summit and the Knowledge Forum happens next week. My name is Cheryl Ann Thomas Scott. I'm the marketing officer here with the JCS, and I will be your host this afternoon. So I'm hoping that you have your lunch warmed up, or you have refilled your coffee cups or your tea cups, because I want to ensure everyone is relaxed and ready for us to have this engaging conversation with our guests this afternoon. And our guests are, well, representatives from JAMPRO as well as one guest organization. So this afternoon, I'm joined by three ladies: Diane Edwards, president at JAMPRO; Marjorie, program director for the project execution unit for the skills development for the global services sector project, a mouthful, GSS, and Stacy, Kirk, CEO at Quality Work Consulting Group, and they will be speaking on the topic, My SME is Ready to Go Global. So before we proceed, I want to introduce all three ladies briefly to you. So we're all comfortable. We know that, okay, these are the persons that are speaking to us, and these are the experts on these matters. So first off, I'll start with Diane Edwards. Diane Edwards possesses a wealth of knowledge and experience in international marketing and business development. She's committed to developing and advancing Jamaica's business brand. Under her leadership, JAMPRO has facilitated approximately $1.7 billion in investments, $1.29 billion in export sales, and created 51,000 jobs. Wow. Marjorie has over 20 years of experience in marketing and business operations, and she currently provides strategic, organizational, financial, and technical direction to the project execution unit for the GSS project, which has its core focus, and that is to strengthen the skills development framework and ecosystem for the global services sector. And finally, Stacy Kirk has over 20 years in software development and ensuring the delivery of progressive web, mobile, and enterprise applications. Her experience encompasses diverse industries, and she has worked with such companies as AT&T, BB&T, NBC Universal, Symantec, FedEx, and Fandango. And in 2010, Stacy founded Quality Work Consulting Group, a leader in software quality innovation and delivery based in LA, California. So this afternoon, what I'm saying simply is that we have three competent and experienced leaders to engage us in dialogue for the SMEs in the audience. So please feel free to share your comments and your questions in the chat, and we'll discuss them in the Q&A segment. But really, guys, this is a discussion. So I hope that the audience all our attendees are ready to ask questions. We have the people in front of us, so let's ask them as many questions and give our comments so we can better understand the process. So we're actively prepared for exporting our products and services, primarily in the tech area industries, for 2020 and beyond. So over to you, ladies.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
I'm really excited to be with you powerhouse ladies today, because the tech industry is not always welcoming of females. I think it's really, really important. We're three females here today talking about tech exports, which is really a big passion of mine. We're talking really about my SME, meaning my small business is ready to go global. And this is the theme that JAMPRO has adopted for a lot of our work in how we are developing the whole expansion of the tech sector in Jamaica. So for about 10 years, JAMPRO was really focused on inviting BPO companies to come into Jamaica and benefit from our talent pool. And at the same time, we were seeing the development in parallel of the tech sector in Jamaica. So developing the technology applications that largely were focused on the local market. And so we kind of had a parallel development going on. But we really now want to pivot at JAMPRO to not only expand our role from not only inviting companies in to set up in Jamaica, but really assisting our capable and competent tech sector to go outward. So it's really from Jamaica to the world, as they say. The global IT services industry is, as everyone knows, huge, 18 billion just out of India in terms of software export. So there's a big wide world out there which we can start to tap into. And what we really want to talk to all businesses today, and small business is a relative term. What's small in Jamaica is micro in the big pond out there. So we really want to just talk to all businesses about what does it mean to get your business ready to go global and to tackle international market. What do you need to do? What are some of the tips? What are some of the things that you need to do to get your business ready in terms of mindset, in terms of market research, in terms of understanding what the customer base wants, in terms of getting yourself in front of the right people. This is where JAMPRO has done a lot of work, and I want really particularly to hear today from two people who are very active in this business. One is Stacy Kirk, who is going to talk to you in just a minute about her experience of really working across a continent. So between Los Angeles, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco, and Jamaica. How does this tech sector in Jamaica, how does it really start to expand export? And then we're going to hear after that from Marjorie, who has a fantastic opportunity opened up to Jamaicans to benefit from upskilling our workforce to help the companies, all of your companies, to be ready for the export market. Because this is a human resource-based industry. It's really all about the talent pool that we have. That's what has attracted people to come here. That's what attracts people to continue outsourcing work to Jamaican freelancers, to Jamaican companies, to global companies based in Jamaica. So the talent pool is critical to how we want to go forward in this human resource-based industry. So I'm gonna, because this is just not me talking forever, I'm gonna ask Stacy to give us some of her thoughts on how she has successfully navigated this whole export contract business, how you find new companies, Stacy, how you, what advice you have for companies seeking to go global?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will let you know that I leverage all the resources that are available and open. And when I made the decision 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, that I thought that Jamaica would be a great place to expand my business. One of the first websites that I read thoroughly was the JAMPRO website. It helped me understand the country. It helped me understand more about how to do business and how to sell Jamaica to my client base. And so getting started, and I think this is great that Marjorie will be sharing with you, the upskilling is really, you really have to know the markets that you want to go into. You have to do your research. You have to validate that they have a need within that marketplace. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my first step is I went to the JAMPRO website, I spoke with JAMPRO, and then I said, let me go and do some validation and do some testing to see, can I expand here? Will it work for my company? Will it work for my clients? And then there's no easy way to expand, to get more business globally. I'll let you know that as a tech person, calling and bothering people and emailing people and saying, work with me, work with my team in Jamaica, was not comfortable for me at first, but it was something that I had to do a lot of. And I get this advice from VCs, experienced entrepreneurs, when I go, how did you get your company to become so successful? And, you know, everyone thinks it's some type of magic potion, but it's a lot of work in terms of making calls, making connections, explaining the value proposition of what you have to offer. But I'm so excited about this stage of this year in terms of the mindsets that have changed because of the pandemic, in terms of no longer looking at who's available, who's talented, what companies are in my local area. Now everyone sees can see the value of having a global talent pool, using global vendors and buyers, and it's just I think the most exciting time, especially for Jamaica, to reach out and to expand.
Great. Yeah, I think you made a very strong point about market research, really understanding your market. And maybe that's one of the areas that you can give some of the companies some tips. How do they look at market research? I know what we do at JAMPRO is we have a lot of research that's available, and we can assist companies with that. What we also do at JAMPRO is go a lot to trade shows, because it's in actually meeting people and talking to people. Okay, now in COVID, of course, trade shows have gone online. So it's actually cheaper now for you to attend trade shows virtually, because you can be sitting in your living room and interacting with people. Makes the networking a bit harder when it's not face-to-face, but still it gives you the opportunity to engage with people in the marketplace at events like the Shared Services Outsourcing Week or the Contact Center Week, or some of the big trade shows. What's your advice, Stacy, on how do people get to know more about the market, understand more about the market?
Yeah.
Starting from ground zero.
Yeah. Well, is that for Marjorie or for me?
No, for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say that the conferences and trade shows as well, that's really important. I look for the ones that have networking, matchmaking. You know, you don't want to spend all your money going to conferences where you're just listening. Really, the value of those conferences is to build your network. And so I've been on some conferences that do it very well. They now have technology that allows you to kind of sit at a table and move from one table to the next virtually and meet people and to follow up. I think, and also in terms of understanding your market, you may not, you need to be able to find people within that location or within the country that can help and assist you. And so LinkedIn has become, the way to market and to network and to meet people. But you have to be careful, because a lot of us get blasted with, hundreds of, hey, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. So you have to figure out also how to be unique, how to come up with something that's interesting, that will make someone want to talk with you, and to then ask them for their advice. I always say that no one does it alone, and you need many people to kind of help you along that pathway. And as entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial subject matter experts, we're used to being alone often and doing things by ourselves. But as we try to expand globally, you'll need to find the partnerships. And I've got to tell you, my first few projects that I was able to source here in Jamaica were all through my partnerships and friends that had their own businesses, and we're like, you know what, I'll give you a try with my company. And so you may not be able to go directly to Google and Facebook initially. You may have to start by finding the partner companies that are interested in giving you a chance. And I think that's going to be one of the most valuable ways to kind of launch, is finding those right partners that know the market, can give you advice, can tell you honestly if you have something good or if you need to build and develop on it.
Great advice. Thank you for that. I mean, there are two things that I two kind of factors that I want to drop into the conversation before I ask Marjorie to come in. And that is that Korn Ferry, which is a company based in Los Angeles, a market research firm, they estimate that by 2030, that magical year, there is going to be a global shortage of more than 85 million tech workers. I'm going to repeat that, 85 million tech workers. That is a scary number. So what that means is that in Jamaica, we have actually a real opportunity to fill some of that shortage by not by leaving here, but by sitting here physically and doing the work from here. Because we're near shore, we're in the same time zone. We must, and we speak English. We must not underestimate any of those things that we take for granted. And we also have a lot of cultural affinity with the US. That all of that is very important in the work we do, because sometimes when you meet people, and I've been in sales for a long time, you know, you really just need to break the ice and to establish that rapport with them, for them to start to listen to you. So you don't approach them up front with a sales. You try to establish some rapport and some commonality, and then you ease into the discussion about your service that you're offering. The other factoid that I wanted to drop is that the US brings in about 85,000 people per year on what is called an H-1B visa. Most of those visas are sought after by Indian companies that bring in software experts into the US to do software. So again, I'm just saying these things to underline the shortage of skills that that exist in the US market, where we can really tap into, because there's a real opportunity for us to take some of that business and convince them that it can be done in Jamaica. We're actually doing work in Jamaica for Fortune 500 companies already. So we need to build on our reputation, and we need to understand what we are selling so that we can take that out to the market. And that's where the whole skills question comes in. And Marjorie is sitting right at the front of an explosion in skills development, which I think is really, really exciting. And of course, I would say so because I'm with JAMPRO, and because JAMPRO was part of the initiator of the Global Services Sector Project.
Sure.
But I think it's really a huge opportunity for our small companies, small, medium, all sorts of companies in the tech sector to take advantage of upskilling opportunities and to improve the quality of our workforce so that we can drive our export. So Marjorie, do you want to comment on that and tell us about your upskilling opportunities?
Sure, Diane, thank you. And you're right, you've been right there with us toe to toe from the beginning on this project. And we're excited to have not just JAMPRO as the executing agency, but a consistent champion, you know, on what we're trying to do in the tech space. And it is an exciting time, I think, because as a result of the COVID, as Stacy alluded to, more and more we're seeing where persons or firms are getting innovative in how they engage, recognizing that tech is becoming a fundamental requirement now and not just a nice to have. And then when we think of tech firms and how we can help them to scale, the project has a large fund available to help all SMEs to upskill and reskill. Never before has there been such an unprecedented amount, Dan. There's 3.65 million available to help you to upskill and reskill over the next 3 years. And the GSS project is committed to working with you, to working with the firms. We are doing this through the Competitive Fund, and we have two types of program. There's the apprenticeship program, which is a longer term program, 12 months. But the one I think that will really resonate with the tech firms is the short-term certificate program. Imagine you have a blank slate. Nobody is scripting you, trying to whisper in your ear what you must put on that slate. And you can choose any course as long as it ends with a certificate or provides a certificate from a duration as short as 2 weeks to 6 months. We are not questioning what you choose. All the fund is asking is that you justify to us how this course is going to help you to operate in higher value added segments, how this training is going to support your business to scale. And so, Diane, individually, we can provide up to US $300 per person in a co-funding arrangement. This is an opportunity that I cannot underscore that the industry needs to take advantage of. We will work with you. In fact, Diane, the normal requirement is for applicants to have 10 trainees. Because we recognize we are dealing with SMEs, we understand that some operations are smaller than others. We in the fund have decided to accept as low as 5 persons, 5 trainees per firm. And that is our way of trying to also work with the firms to say, look, you're small scale. We understand that. We're here to support you to scale, to grow your talent pool, because understandably, having a strong talent pool, and not just a strong, but a talent pool that can adapt, a talent pool that has almost a continuous lifelong learning approach where the industry worldwide is changing so often. This is tech, right, Stacy? So, I mean, something 6 months or 12 months may not exist after that. There's some new features, some new technology, and we want to help the SMEs to be able to be responsive and, more importantly, to be competitive and to be able to operate effectively in a global space.
All right, someone in the chat is asking the giveaway question to you. I don't know if you've answered it already,
no.
But Nakira is asking, he has up to 10 trainees. How do I sign up my company? Well, you just met Marjorie, Nakira. Marjorie, you want to answer that?
That's right. You can sign up your company. You first need to identify the training that you want. Certainly now we are leaning more towards an online training, and many of the certificate courses of which we speak are really being offered online through EDX, Coursera, and there are a plethora of platforms out there offering different types of courses. So you need to identify those courses. You need to identify start and end date, and then basically the trainees who will participate, because the fund has to verify everything. And very important, the course must provide a certificate at the end of the training. You'll be required to register fully online for the course. That is, you pay the full amount, and upon proof of registration, the fund or the GSS project will reimburse you 35%. And at the end, when all trainees have received their certificates, the GSS project will give you the balance of 65% under the co-funding arrangement, which means if a course costs $100, we'll match you, we'll split it 50-50. So you'll only be providing $50, thereby maximizing your dollars. So in a minute, I'll put in the chat the email to the competitive fund where you can send in your applications.
Great stuff. And I hope that the people listening are really seriously taking this in, because this is kind of a 5-year window. Well, 1 year is gone, 1.5 pretty much. So
Yeah.
we've got about 3 years left for you to benefit from this program. So the time is now. It's not putting it off for another couple of years. It's really getting involved in the program now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Stacy, what have you found have been the biggest barriers to your success? Is it that you have found that people don't believe that Jamaica has the right talent to do their job? Is there a credibility gap that we have to get over? What have you found to be the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I do think there's credibility. Most of my business is in the United States, so most of my clients are in the United States. If you've followed the news over the last 6 months, people that look like us are still, there's still some bias there in terms of, and I'll tell you some of the questions that I get asked when I share that the majority of my team is in Kingston are pretty absurd. So I have on my readiness checklist to say, don't expect people to know anything about Jamaica. You would think they do, but I mean, some people only know about Bob Marley, and resorts. So there's a lot of education that I have to do, and there's a lot of education SMEs will have to do about the type of talent you have, the type of value that you provide. And there's a lot to do in terms of building trust, that, you know, they should go with you instead of going to the Ukraine, or, you know, especially in technology, it's, you know, why would I come to Jamaica and I could go to India? But we have such a compelling story, and I use all of the lines I learned from the JAMPRO website. The third largest English speaking country, we have an affinity. We know your news better than you do. and being able to find that in terms of so close, you will benefit more, even if you end up paying a little bit more. India is still extremely low price wise, but no one else in the Caribbean or in Latin America is in that low price range. So I think really it comes down to a lot of education. Don't make any assumptions that people know anything that they should know about Jamaica. And so I think that's been the hardest part. But I will say, once there's some skills that we have, and I think for Marjorie and for the program, there is a shift now where tech leaders are not just looking for tech skills. They're looking for EQ, emotional intelligence, people they can communicate with. Yeah. And so don't discount that. I will say Jamaica has high EQ. Where other countries focus so much on the technology, they forget that you still have to communicate. You still have to be able to build good relationships. You have to be able to handle difficult situations. Mm-hmm. Those are incredibly strong and powerful skills that shouldn't be discounted.
Absolutely. I mean, JAMPRO can bear out your experience, because sometimes, especially early on when we used to go to trade shows in the US, people would say, what is JAMPRO? What is Jamaica doing here? You know, we thought you were about tourism, you know, and many people will say to you, oh, I went on honeymoon to Jamaica. But of course, they've never been away from the beach. So they have no idea about what's going on in the rest of Jamaica. So we definitely have a credibility gap, and that's where JAMPRO wants to play more of a role. We're actually putting the finishing touches to our digital services sector strategy, which is actually financed under the Global Services Sector Project. And we are going to be embarking on building global awareness of Jamaica, not only as a BPO destination, but as a tech location. So this is really, it's a job. I mean, people think that a lot of people have an idea about Jamaica, but as you're saying, Stacy, they don't. What they think of Jamaica as is some hotels and some palm trees. So we have a big job still to get over that hump and to show them that we actually have a university that's the top 5% in the world. I mean, that's like, oh my God. So I think one of the things I would say to our small companies is, yes, learn all those things that we have on the JAMPRO website so that your elevator pitch can be really sharp, because it's by dropping in one or two factoids like that people kind of sit up and say, oh, really? I didn't know that. And then you've got their attention. So I think this is really important for people to understand, because this know your customer is really, really critical, especially in a service business. So Marjorie, in terms of the skill set that you see Jamaica needs to develop, what sort of direction do you think we need to develop those skill sets in?
Right. You know, Diane, what we've been seeing is a trend to not ignore the soft skills. We continue to get applications on the soft skills. I think sometimes, industries, sectors like the tech sector, they focus on all the IT stuff, but then when it comes to managing, remotely effectively or managing conflict or learning to be a leader of virtual teams and things like those, you find that they may not have put that so much in the forefront. It's a bit of an afterthought. And as Stacy mentioned, the emotional intelligence, because when you're operating in the global space, for those who have worked in the global space, and I certainly have as well, you have to be able to deal with cultural differences, cross-functional teams, still while driving tech and projects and so on, but you can't ignore the people aspect of it. So I've been seeing applications coming in, especially during this year. I don't want to say as a result. Yes, I would say actually it says as a result of COVID and working more virtually than in a, jointly or together in a physical space. I've been seeing more applications, but separate and apart from those, there continue to be an interest in, in some of the traditional areas, project management. And then we have also seen some, I would say, slow interest in AI, in robotics, automation. I've seen some of that. I've seen some interest in programming. Again, what's so exciting about this is that because we don't have a list, I remember presenting at the GSAJ a few months ago, and someone emailed me, one of the participants, to say, could you provide a list of courses that we can do? And I was like, there's no list, choose what you want. And it gets very exciting to see what they propose, and then when you're able to tie it into how you're going to scale or grow, then, it begins to form a picture of how the industry is beginning to shape. I still would say that we are not getting enough interest from the tech sector. Unfortunately, we're getting a lot from the KPO, a lot from the BPO, but not enough from the tech sector. And as I said, Dan, and I can't stress it enough, we want to spend this money, but understand 3.65 million US, by the way, in case anyone thinks I'm speaking in Jamaican dollars, is here to support you. I can't even use it on anything else. I need to help you guys to train. So yes, please, come in with your courses. One of the things I could mention as well, Dan, is that one of the areas in which the project really tries to help firms is that we sit with firms, we sit with persons who are in charge of training and work with them through what we refer to as their human capital strategy. We also want the tech firms to not be reactive. We want you to be thinking 6 months ahead, 12 months ahead. What are the opportunities I'm going after? Am I really ready for this? What do I need? Oh, I need to take this course because that would position me better in the face of a particular investor or to respond better to an opportunity. And that's how we want you to think. And then you literally can come to us and talk it through, even before the application, to say, hey, I'm thinking this way, this is what I want to do, and we guide you through the process. And I think that's very important because we really want overall for the global services sector to be proactive in its skills development. If we're serious about strengthening our talent pool, then we have to be watching global trends and almost be one step ahead of the game. We can't be waiting until an investor arrives on our shores and says, I need these skills. We want to change the conversation and say to the investor, oh, did you know that we have these skills?
Absolutely. And I kind of want to give a shout out to those freelancers who are working in their bedrooms or living rooms in their pajamas, because I keep hearing that there are a lot of people doing this and getting work online. But we want to build a sector, and to build a sector and an industry, we can't work with you if we don't know who you are. So we're not the tax man. Okay, I'm being clear. But what we are interested in doing is building a viable tech sector in Jamaica. And what that means is that people need to get formalized, that they need to become an industry that works together. They need to become collaborative and not just competitive, because I think that's where we have a real opportunity. one of our global companies was saying here that what he finds really interesting about Jamaica is how competitive we are. And I think it is important to be competitive and honest at competitiveness, but also to be collaborative. But we don't have scale. We're not India. But if we can work together and help each other, we can all progress. I'll give you a case in point. We had our accounting firm come down here, out for data analytics skills. And we were not able to show them that we have enough skills in Jamaica so that they could go back to their client and say, yes, you can put your business in Jamaica. Okay, so that is what is critical. We need to be able to show that we have the skills. And those skills, the soft skills, are certainly critical. I mean, one of the things we hear from our outsourcing companies here is that Jamaicans can say no in a charming way. Jamaicans can handle difficult conversations. And please don't underestimate the power of being able to do that. To be able to connect with people is a really important skill. It's not an easy one to learn. So looking towards the future, I wanted to ask Stacy really a question about how do you think, where do you think Jamaica has skills that are competitive? What are the niche opportunities, different types of skills and different types of applications you think Jamaica can really excel at? Is that, you know, quality testing? Is that cybersecurity? Is that, you know, whatever? You give us your thinking on that.
Well, I'll definitely start with what you kind of ended with, which is being able to be collaborative and to have conversations. I will tell you, my clients, we are a consulting firm, which means we come in, we make improvements, and then we leave. But I will let you know that is a very hard breakup for a lot of my art clients. Not because they're not ready technically, it's because they have built these incredible relationships. And I can't take credit that it's just, you know, my company. I think it is one of the strengths that we have, which is we're able to have a good relationship outside of just the work. And if you think about it, who wants to work with people where it's just about work? You want to work with people where they make you smile, you can have a good laugh, and you can get work done simultaneously. So that one is a big one. In terms of technology, one of the reasons I thought to come to Jamaica, and I am my father's Jamaican. I've grown up around the diaspora of Jamaicans, and I will let you know, we are very clean and neat people, right? Like, and when you think of software, I thought, you know what? I'd like to make software clean and neat. I don't want it to have bugs in it, right? So I was like, you know, I wonder if that would translate. I think it does. In terms of attention to detail, a higher bar of quality. So it's one of the reasons that I know it sounds stereotypical. I apologize if it is, but it definitely is something that's needed, not just in software quality, it's needed in how you develop any type of product. I feel like we have this creative strength that lends itself to the entrepreneurial spirit of innovation. So coming up with new ideas and being able to be an incubator of creative ideas that can expand to not necessarily just like United States, but a lot of emerging markets that can't figure out how to do it. And we are figuring it out. And I think cybersecurity is a good one. I like to take when people maybe say, oh, isn't there a lot of fraud in Jamaica? You know, I like to take those bad analogies and say, wouldn't you like to have a team that is in the area where you think there's fraud? Because they're going to be stronger and better and more ethical hackers based on what you know. So I won't say I know that that's like going to be a winner, but I actually think we should take everything that people think about Jamaica in terms of our creativity, our music, our spirit, and use that and infuse that into the technologies sectors that we're interested in going into.
No, I definitely agree with you, because I think we can definitely turn some of our so-called disadvantages, turn them around into advantages and opportunities. I think the creative sector is really lagging in Jamaica in its attention to technology, because, you know, making money in the creative sector is no longer appearing on a stage. I mean, we don't have any stages right now. You know, if we go back to stages, we might have to be in a bubble. But there is so much Jamaican culture that can be exploited or amplified by technology that we're not doing. And I find that a bit crazy, like where are the Jamaican animated stories? And I really have to give a shout out to Tanya Batson Savage, who has just gotten the right to animate one of the really iconic stories of Jamaican literature, which is, I think it's The Last Gap, The Last Mountain Gap or something. Give me the name, escapes me right now. But I think, you know, that's where I think we can really make a huge impact on the international market. And as you said, cybersecurity, the big companies hire the hackers to say, okay, you know, create me a Norton antivirus, or create me a, one with a K, Kaspersky. Create me a Kaspersky version that is totally foolproof. Well, the best person to create that is the one who tries to break it. You know, I think there's a real opportunity for us to develop more technology in that area. And the other thing I would say is tourism. If there's one industry that we know inside out, it's tourism. What we haven't done is gone into the back offices of tourism and understand how those back offices operate, and how can we become experts in the back office of tourism. So I think there is a lot of fruit there, and going back to the skill set, you know, this is where we'd love to see more people exploring those kinds of skill sets. So I don't know, we've been talking for quite a while, 40 odd minutes. But I don't know if there are any burning questions that the audience has that we could look at answering. Sherilyn, have you looked at the questions?
Yes, I have seen a few questions. We have answered a few as we went along, but let me note. Okay, let me go all the way down. So I saw a question about they have worked. So Garfield said he has done work with the JAMPRO before. How does he go about doing it again? I'm assuming in the tech industry, and particularly for this project. How can he go about working alongside you guys again?
Well, the first thing is a telephone call. It's going onto the website. I mean, you know, it depends what he wants to do, but it starts with a conversation. So, I mean, JAMPRO is open, doing a range of different things. What we are doing right now is looking for new opportunities to have targeted conversations. So helping companies to export is really about having targeted conversations, finding the right buyer for our services. So that's what we're engaged in right now. And how can we do that virtually, particularly since we're living in COVID times. We're not going to get on a plane right now, but we can do a lot online, and that's what we're doing. So it's really tough, but as long as it's about export, investment, and growing businesses, that's the area we want to be involved.
All right, thanks for that response, Dan. Another question, Marjorie touched on this, but you can reiterate it. Do you assist courses at UTech?
Thank you. Any accredited training institution, whether online or physically located here in Jamaica, can be considered. The key to the application is not just the selection of the training institution, because we want industry to determine where they think the training best suits their needs. It's really the justification. When you write, when you select a course, regardless of whether it seems to be an obvious fit or not to the competitive fund team, one of the first things the competitive fund team does is to look at the justification you provide. We are looking to see alignment to the GSS project, which is one of its key objectives, upskilling, reskilling, and operating or scaling up to operate in higher value added segments. So we're looking for a justification that's going to explain how this course that you're selecting will help you to achieve that. We're also looking at how the course you select will support your business overall to scale. And so those are some of the areas that will actually determine whether an application is accepted or rejected. But there is no limit in the sense of selection of a training institution except that it be accredited.
All right, thanks, Marjorie. Well, this is more a comment, and I will just throw it out to you, Diane, and you can do with it as you like. So the comment is, Nolly has said, I'm hoping JAMPRO can use this idea on my business card. I have logos for PSOJ, JITSA, and AAAJ, and it always piques people's curiosity. Think about a JAMPRO partner or friends logo for companies that have benefited from your programs that they could use on their business cards, email signatures, and letterhead. So
I actually like that idea, Nolly, so thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, it's something we could certainly give consideration to. I hadn't thought of putting it on a business card, but yeah, why not? JAMPRO partners, I like to counter that. We will definitely toss that idea around internally.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Nolly. So Denton has also said, are there any trade missions that help SMEs to network? You touched on this a bit as well, Diane, so go ahead.
Yeah. We are all about networking. I mean, if there's one thing I think that JAMPRO really excels at, is finding those business opportunities and those business partners that we can put in touch with Jamaican companies. And that's a big part of our work. So trade missions, yes, we've done a lot of trade missions. We were probably doing about 20 trade missions a year prior to COVID. COVID has really put us up to that. What we're doing now is virtual trade missions. So what Stacy was talking about, online networking and speed working, that exists in a number of it shows now. They're doing virtual networking. So it means that small companies have to rejig their presentation material because it's not to be physical so much anymore. Now it needs to be video, it needs to be animated, it needs to be visual. So, you know, however you interpret visual, but that's really, I think, the opportunity that we have now. How do I present my company, my service in 30 seconds? I've got elevator pitch ready. I know how to do it so that when I go into a speed networking session, I can grab that attention of the person really quickly and move on. So in answer to Delta, yes, we are doing those type of missions, but as I said, we're doing them virtually. I think it's going to be a while. Probably not till next year before we sort of physically do those kinds of missions again. But, you know, this is exactly where we want to continue to work with companies that are interested in the global market.
All right, thank you for that response. And also, I can do a quick plug here, then, Delton. The JCS is having an event next week, which will facilitate this type of networking that you may desire from overseas as well as other local players in the tech space. I'll speak to that afterwards, but I just want to plug that there. That's BizTech 2020. All right. Sylvia asked the question, can you include biotechnology in the technology skills Jamaica has? I'll just rejig it and say, are there any initiatives for biotechnology to be a part of this program or the development of those skills here in Jamaica?
In the context of the GSS project, not explicitly, but, you know, we do not refuse applications because we would want to see you know, exactly what's the approach that's being considered, and then how that would be used. I mean, biotechnology, from my limited understanding, probably requires more training than the 6-month period that we would offer, or even the 12-month period. But we'd be open to look at it, but we do not have it as an explicit consideration in the project. But if someone's going to show me how being certified in some aspect of biotechnology is going to help their business, either in the tech sector or in the BPO or KPO in some form or shape, I'd be willing to look at it.
All right, thanks.
And
go ahead.
I'd also like to share, I'll drop in the comments. This year was our inaugural year for Jamaican Computing Society Silicon Valley, which I'm on the board. COVID hit maybe 2 months after we started, so we're off to a little slower start. But one of our missions is to be able to connect more businesses in Jamaica with our network in Silicon Valley. And so I'm going to drop a link to the site. There's an option for you to sign up your company for business matchmaking. I'm still looking for the right matches. So it can be a little bit difficult to find the ends, but part of what we're doing there is to hopefully have some networking sessions with the right people in Silicon Valley to help you all grow. So it's a good list to be on, because as we have these events, we will include as many of the businesses in Jamaica as we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy, for that response. So Tafari here has a 2-part question. I'm thinking, Marjorie, you might be the one to take this. Okay. Do you offer any programs for youth and unemployed to allow for increased skills in technology, in turn beefing up the Jamaican offering of qualified techies, not only locally but globally? And then the other part to his question, do you also offer mentorship and or accelerator programs for tech startups and small biz? So right. Stacy kind of touched on that just now. Go ahead.
Right. The second part I'm going to allow Diane to respond to about the accelerator program, because there's an exciting program that I know JAMPRO is doing. But the first part, what we do offer during the GSS, through the GSS project, is we recently developed a digital skills curriculum, the first, I'm being told, in the Caribbean curriculum, and this becomes what we refer to as a foundational requirement to operate in the BPO and KPO and in the GSS generally. And so this program will be taught by Heart. Heart is going to be the training provider who is committed to training 24,000 new entrants in the industry in the digital skills curriculum. And that will begin next year. And so that is the program, I think, to look forward to. Heart will determine how it selects its entrants, but it will be 24,000 new entrants who can be trained in this digital skills curriculum to be a better fit for the industry.
Yeah, and Tafari, we really can't operate globally in terms of skills development. We have to focus on people who are here in Jamaica, because we are funded by the Jamaican government, and our focus and our commitment is to improve the skills available in Jamaica, because we want businesses to take advantage of skills that are here in Jamaica. We want to keep all our skills down home on the farm. We want people to stay here and work remotely for international companies, and that's our focus. So we don't get involved we link with the diaspora, you know, in terms of linking to the companies that they represent and for them to feed business back to Jamaica. But we're not really, you know, most Jamaicans that diaspora are living in developed countries, which have a lot more training opportunities than we can provide.
All right, thank you, Diane, for that. And based on our time, we won't be able to take any other questions, so I'm going to wrap up. I'll just take one other question. Marjorie, could you state the name of that program, please?
The program I just mentioned for Heart?
Yes, it's for Heart.
Actually, it's under the GSS project. It's funny, I was just responding in the chat to say that keep following our platforms, keep following the website, and you will see more information about it. HEART, I believe, is aiming to start training by about March of next year.
All right. Thank you. So, ladies, thank you very much for sharing with us during this lunchtime. Do you have any final remarks?
Well, I just wanted to say that we actually have a session next week, Tuesday. I think it's 2 o'clock, where we're going to be talking to some international speakers, guest speakers, about this whole question of going global and how do we get companies ready to get into the global market. One of the speakers is Tamoy Chakrabarti, who is from the Tata Group. Tata is India's largest industrial conglomerate, and they have a huge consulting services firm, which does IT consulting. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting to hear their take on the global market. And Michael McNaughton of Amber Connect, and you'll have heard a lot about Amber Connect and the technologies that they are bringing to the table in terms of tracking motor vehicles, tracking devices for COVID visitors, etc. So it's going to be a really exciting program.
All right. So, ladies, thank you again for sharing with us. And you provided some really great reminders. It was extremely informative and also some solid recommendations. Thank you, especially Stacy, for sharing some recommendations to the local entrepreneurs who are considering to whether partner with other tech companies in more developed markets and also export their services and their products. This webinar has been recorded, so I know I saw a few questions about that. It has been recorded and it will be shared via email and on social media. However, before you guys go, I want to just drive home and point out our big event that is coming up next week. Diane touched on the fact that they are having an event happening on Tuesday. And
it's part of your event.
Exactly. So you touched on it. So the JCS flagship event for this year is only a few days away. It's BizTech Virtual Summit and Knowledge Forum that will be happening next week, Tuesday to Thursday, November 17th to the 19th. And I want to just say, if you haven't registered as yet, you need to go and register, because we really do have a full lineup for our tech entrepreneurs, and not only those within the GSS, but also for the various sectors that also fall under JAMPRO, interestingly. So we'll be looking at tourism and the creative sectors and also agriculture and agribusiness. So there is a complete lineup for you all. So we can all pivot as we need to pivot for this new normal. I need to stop saying new normal, for the normal, for life as it is now. And so please, I encourage you, implore you to register. It is free of cost. Must I say, it's free of cost. So go to www.biztechconf.com. The link was also shared in the chat, and register. This event really should cost $1,000, to be honest, but we have some amazing partners, and so you will be experiencing first-class information, training, as well as the option to earn digital skills badges that you can put on your LinkedIn, you can share with your employer. So it will be a great lineup for you for learning and for training and upskilling. So please share and register. And then thank you again for joining with us this afternoon. It's 1 o'clock promptly. I want you guys to jump off so you can grab the rest of your lunches and have a great afternoon and a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot, Caroline. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.